I'm Trish Cloud. I'm from Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. Up until February of this year, I was a K-5 technology teacher. I introduced Minecraft to our district about 7 years ago when we got iPads and there was PE Minecraft. And so I approached my principal and said, can I have an after-school Minecraft club? And that was the gateway to getting it into the school. And since then, I've continued using it through after-school clubs until I got a lab full of 30 computers and got the kids engaged on the lab full of 30 computers. Then we moved away from the iPads completely and went strictly desktop. And then I started approaching teachers in all grade levels and said, what problem is your kids having trouble grasping right now? And for example, this year I had a teacher tell me, my kids just don't get arrays. They do not get the multiplication. And so I built a map and that helped the kids grasp that. So my goal is just to take whatever subject and immerse the student in it so they can live it, breathe it, build it. And that's what I do.
Thanks, Trish.
Hi, my name's Chris Fuge. I teach middle school science and technology in Fresno Unified over in California. I've only been using Minecraft for the last couple of years with my students, but I've already seen a huge impact. I've been working now with about 50 teachers in our district using Minecraft, coming up with lessons, creative lessons, interactive lessons. And I'm really excited to be joining the global Minecraft mentor group as well. It just kind of happened recently. One of my favorite things with Minecraft is just the collaboration piece that we get to do with students. That's a big part of being an educator, is getting kids to work together. And Minecraft is perfect for that. I mean, right away, as soon as they jump in, they start doing stuff. They start battling, and then you got to kind of turn that off and then work around it and kind of set up norms and stuff. But there's a lot of cool tools with the education edition that allow you to do that and really push the education side of it. It's been really cool seeing kids that are usually really quiet or reserved kind of come out of their shell and start working with a team and completing projects together. That's been really promising. And then it's great just at the end of the period when the bell rings. I mean, I teach a technology class, so we do robots and 3D printing and all sorts of fun stuff. But with Minecraft, it's even, the level of engagement and excitement is even higher. And the bell will ring at the end of the period and they'll say they don't want to leave, like they want to stay in class. That always feels nice as a teacher that you're kind of doing the right thing, so. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody, for your really thoughtful introductions. As a former high school English teacher, when I think about educators bringing Minecraft into their classroom, I think there has to be a shift in your own practice. And I'm wondering about that a little bit, if you could talk about that a bit. What part of your own practice as an educator, the way you think about teaching and learning, the way you design learning experiences for students has shifted, changed, maybe or maybe not, because of the introduction of Minecraft in your own classroom and in your own practice? Whoever wants to take it, yeah.
I just want to say, when I went into Minecraft, the kids knew more than I did about Minecraft, and even they were better at playing the game. When I first attempted to play the game in front of them, they laughed at me. They're like, come on, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying here, work with me. And so they saw that I was giving that message that I'm not perfect, and I don't expect them to be as well. And my role really is I step aside, because a lot of times if there's a question proposed in the class, I can't answer it. My students can answer it better. I have an idea, but they play it every day. They are engaged and they really truly know the game.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point in terms of you learning from your learners.
Right, yeah. Exactly. We're learning from them.
Well, as far as, building like a teamwork aspect to the classroom where they can help teach each other is really powerful. Like I said, I mean, there's one of me and 30 of them or more, and allowing them to kind of work together. And again, just back to the collaboration side, I think, because before Minecraft, it was a lot of I try to do teamwork stuff and projects, but it's hard with a lot of projects. They're working on one thing and it's only on that one computer. But the network piece where they can all jump into a world together and collaborate and build something together, just super, super powerful. Great opportunity.
And it also, your kids that are not the popular kids, so I put in quotation marks, they may not be the fastest or the smartest. They may be an introverted child. They may be very shy. This gives them a space to shine in. This is where they can become the expert, because maybe instead of going out and playing soccer on the soccer team and being the star soccer player, they are the kid that's at home and they're doing the metagame and they're watching YouTube videos, they're writing fan fiction, they're playing the game, they're building things, they're experimenting, and then when they come in the classroom and you've given them an assignment to build something, that's when they become the rock star. And they attract people around them and they get to teach others.
To carry further onto what you said about how learning shifts for certain types of students who may not have opportunity to shine in the traditional activities, can you think back on a specific student or a lesson that changed drastically for the better because of the introduction to Minecraft? Or if you can't think of something, maybe how has your students' interactions amongst one another shifted because of introduction of Minecraft as a learning tool in your classrooms?
Well, I knew a boy. I had known him since he was in kindergarten in my school. He had some sensory issues, and he was very timid and he was very shy. And when I introduced Minecraft on the iPads, he blossomed. And one of the exercises I had them do was, we were working with an app on the iPads where they had to write a story. And they had to use full sentences. This was a 3rd grade class. And so they're working on building the entire sentence and putting complete thoughts together. And this child sat there and wrote a 5-page book on how to survive your first night in Minecraft. And
I need that book.
Yeah, it was wonderful. He had full pages, he had pictures, he drew things. He completely described how you could survive your first night in Minecraft. And his mother even had the book printed. And she came to me and said, "You have made his year."
Wow.
And from that point on, all the other kids saw what he did. And from that point until he left my school in 5th grade, he continued to gain confidence. He continued to just grow as a great kid, but as also he had friends, and he always had a common ground with them because he could always talk Minecraft.
That ties back into the keynote with the connected speaker, the connected learning, finding something that they're really passionate about.
Right.
For a lot of these kids, that is their passion, and bringing that into school has been really awesome.
Anything else you guys want to?
Yeah, and I just think, to add to that really, and I'm thinking about our role as educators, those type of children could easily be missed, couldn't they?
Right.
And I think I certainly see my role is to plan that really engaging teaching and learning experience. And Minecraft being such a leveler, what you get from your students, from your students who may have additional learning needs, from your students who might be classed as your more gifted students, it's so universal. You never really know what you're going to get, but what you get always impresses you. So yeah.
I just want to add, I had a fellow teacher went into the lab for the first time, and she said to me afterwards, we switched classes, and I have the student in the afternoon, and she said, "I can't believe it. He's a very shy boy. I haven't heard him talk very much all year." And and just going into that lab, I mean, he was running to student, talking, interacting. He was a changed boy. And so you see that with Minecraft. The students that normally interact on the playground, it's not like that in the Minecraft lab. And I often, like, sometimes I see kids as they're leaving the class, they're high-fiving each other on their accomplishments and what they created, and it's amazing.
It changes the social hierarchy, it disrupts it.
It does.
And it builds bonds amongst maybe students who didn't think they had something in common, or maybe they didn't go to each other's houses for sleepover, but that fabric of a common interest creates that bond. I want to pose, I hate panels where it's just all generic questions, so I'm going to pose some specific questions, that way you can learn about each of their contexts a little bit more deeply. So Beth, I'm going to start with you. I know you do amazing stuff with design thinking and Minecraft that I don't see many people talking about or thinking about or doing, and I'm really inspired by that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are you doing? How are you thinking about that?
So when I look at my curriculum, and we define the problem, of course, with design thinking. We go right away and define a problem. And I started out with my 3rd grade classes, and then I've expanded with K to 4. And we define that problem, and then we set up a plan with our students. And the plan could be as simple as storyboard before we go into the lab. It could be doing some research depending on the topic. If we just did a project on the 7 wonders of the world, my students didn't know what the 7 wonders were. So they had to go and research that and get that background. We often use SOUL lessons, which are the self-organized learning environment. And I do that prior to, and then before we go into it. And then oftentimes Minecraft is just creating a prototype or a replica of what we are studying, and at the same time applying those higher level ideas of physics, Newton's law, potential and kinetic energy, and explaining how the building of a bridge, how Newton's law goes into that, and the students are like, oh, I didn't understand that. And so we're applying at a young age these important ideas, so that eventually as they get older and they're expected to know these important ideas, concepts, they'll be ready. And so during a lesson, they're building and creating. I'd like to do as a teacher something what's called rose, bud, thorn. And I stop my class as they're working, and I compliment, because during this time, as the students are building, I'm just observing. I can answer some questions, but the majority of the time, they're helping each other, they're working, they're engaged. And my rose is, I mentioned something that's great that's going on. My bud, and maybe a student's struggling with this idea, so I throw out a question, how can we help him? And sometimes that thorn is just that little nudge that I need to give to my students. How can we further be more creative? And but at the same time, I often don't like to do that, because I don't want, it's their creations. And what I imagine that the end project will look like usually doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. It's so different than what I imagine. So then we share. We do gallery walks. We do presentations. And so we're taking so many different skills and applying it to one lesson.
And the way that you're putting yourself as a learner first and being like, I don't know 100% of how to do this, right, but I'm going to go there with you and we're going to figure it out together, yes, is what I deeply admire about your practice. James, you and I had a special trip because I was able to come to Wales, yeah, and we did some teacher training together. And I saw like what Wales is like and where it's located in the world. And you told me about your students, and one of the things that always has stayed with me since that trip that we made together was that even often just going to Cardiff or to London is an eye-opening experience for your students, because they're often so removed from those places. So how has, bringing Minecraft not only opened your world and the connections, like you're sitting on a panel in New York, but how has it opened connections for your students? Because I know that motivation drives your work and how hard you work. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So as well as developing a whole range of skills in lots of different subjects, the reason I think that Minecraft has been so powerful for my learners is it's really given them a voice. It's really raised their aspirations. And I'm glad you mentioned about my role, because the school that I teach in, I went to myself, you know, so I can completely relate to mine. And even more, my mother actually teaches in the same school still.
Oh my
So
gosh,
Anne
I
uses
didn't know
Minecraft
this.
in her classroom as
I
well.
didn't know this. Oh my gosh.
But one thing, the learners in our school are incredible. They're amazing children. I completely relate. But one thing that I think I've always struggled with is because we're so remote, so removed from everything, many of our children don't really go very far. And the way they've engaged with Minecraft has really opened up a world to them that I honestly think they wouldn't have had access to at this early age. So an example of this, so we've used Minecraft in the classroom. They spoke to children from other schools. We'd love to do that. So they decided to start the Minecraft Roadshow. So they convinced me, it wasn't my idea, to take them to different schools. They planned a workshop. So the workshop wasn't for the students in those schools. It was for the teachers to see, look, this is the power it can have in the classroom. Now, for my students, in terms of engaging them, developing their communication skills, making them confident to talk to people, adults, children on lots of different levels. So they started quite small. And then our head teacher, who's always thinking of the money, thought, okay, they're going out, but it's taking your time because you've got to take them. So the children said, rather than stop, they would turn it into their own enterprise. So they started their own business. They called it Darrans. They made leaflets. They asked me to send tweets out that put on our school website. And I thought, schools are not going to pay. Boy, was I wrong. You know, schools were paying, asking them. They were in such demand, but it really made them think. You know, these children at 10 and 11 years old, this could be their future.
Yeah.
You know, and getting out there in that big wide world. And when they were invited to present at Microsoft in Paddington, it was amazing.
Oh my God.
But I will say one thing, Meenoo, they weren't very happy because they think me coming to New York instead of them.
Okay, that's
they've
my
said,
bad.
next time.
Okay, I'm making notes, But they're not only just learning about how to talk to adults, how to share their expertise, how to give tips on integrating Minecraft, but they're learning about how to run a business, they're learning about marketing, they're learning about budgets, and I think that's so fascinating. So thank you for that. Trish and Chris, yeah.
What we did is I got with my art teacher, because I think that a lot of times in my world of technology, sometimes the art gets looked over, and I had this really fabulous art teacher that I'm working with, and we decided to take on the entire 4th and 5th grade at our school. And we selected the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York, and we selected the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. And then we built an assignment that involved ELA, it involved research, it involved studying architecture and technology. And the 4th grade had to build the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the 5th grade had to build the Musée d'Orsay. They had to research the artists, paintings that are in the museum. They had to research the artists. In art class, they had to reproduce works of art from Georgia O'Keeffe's Red Skull on Blue Background to works by Renoir. And in between all this, they had to build the inside of the museum. They had to have a welcome center. They had to decide how the inside of the museum would work functionally. And once they had completed their works of art, they had to have a research piece. They could create their own song, rap, video, whatever to go with their work of art. All of these works of art were then plugged into a Google site that the students built. And when you go into the museum, you will see an NPC, and that NPC will be one of the students' names. And when you walk up to that NPC and start talking to them, there'll be a link in their word bubble that will then link you to the Google site, and you will see the work of art that they did compared with the original. And all of their research is below that. And what this did was it gave them an appreciation for art that they had never had before, because they actually had to realize these artists are real people. And it gave us, as quote unquote a special area teachers, a chance to grade them on something they built in Minecraft, because we built a rubric, and the 4th and 5th grade teams at our school said, we will write down the grade that you give them for the collaborative work that they did. So it was a groundbreaking moment for using Minecraft in my school, because it was actually something that ended up as a graded project.
So I know, Trish, you also not only teach other teachers, but you also help other teachers make sense of applying Minecraft to their own practice, and not just telling them you should do this, but actually helping them. How do you do that? How do you help, because you also coach teachers, so how do you help them imagine themselves using Minecraft?
Well, a lot of times it's more, I invite them into the room, and I will let them watch and see what's going on. And then I say, how can we take something that you're doing and tell me what you want, and then let's brainstorm. How can we make this an immersive experience in Minecraft for your students? And what I'm finding more and more is teachers, once they get past and they can understand that I don't have to be an expert at Minecraft, that if I can still use my classroom management skills, if I can still make sure that I'm meeting my standards, if I can still make sure that my curriculum is being communicated, they are far, far, far more open to allowing this to be a tool of engagement that they had never considered before.
Yeah, and it starts with them seeing you practice it, and I think that welcoming, come in, like, watch me. It's not always perfect, but come and look what I'm doing.
It can look like a train wreck, but
Chris, you, in your introduction, you said that you're quite new to the community, and we're so excited to have you. There are lots of people possibly in this room who are curious about, when they are creating games for classrooms, what should they keep in mind? What do teachers need if they're going to use games for learning?
Yeah, I think if you're going to design a game for education, I think, again, one of the things that Minecraft really hits on is the collaboration piece. So making sure that there's a way for kids to interact together with their game, not only just in the classroom, but even outside of the class if possible. I know we had a forum question earlier about how do kids continue their learning at home, and that can definitely be challenging. So keeping that in mind, but still a way for them to engage together collaboratively is really important. You just mentioned the standards, and I know when I first started teaching, like, standards are really big, and then obviously they still are as they've shifted to Common Core and stuff. And that's a big challenge for teachers, is fitting everything into a year, or even more than, not even the year, because the state testing and stuff happens much earlier in the year. So we were very rushed to get everything in. So making sure that you're really trying to tie your game or your activity into that, so that teachers are more willing to bring it in and use it. I think you just mentioning Minecraft as a tool, I think is a really good way to kind of do that, where it's not this extra thing that they're doing. It's a way to do the stuff they're already doing, but with more engagement and more excitement. I think I like rewards systems. I know it's really helpful. So like the Classcraft model that I mentioned yesterday, I like that a lot, where as they go through it, they kind of unlock things, and especially like working together to unlock things, I think can be really powerful as well.
So tied to learning, experiential, uses the best of game-based learning and bringing those things into learning. So we're at 14 minutes. You might be going off to your next sessions, you might be headed to lunch, but before you do, I don't want to take up all the time of these brilliant minds. So we have mics in the audience if you have questions. We've learned a lot along the way of bringing Minecraft to the classroom, and we're happy to share what we've learned, and feel free to ask us some questions.
Hi, thank you. I've learned a lot already from what you had to say. I have a question about the actual physical nature of collaboration. Some of you work with elementary school children, and you've mentioned K through 5, focusing more on maybe 4th and 5th grade. I also work with those age groups with technology, and I wonder, there's collaboration in a digital space. Kids could be sitting on either side of the room, but collaborating in a digital world. We also try to teach children in the younger grades, like K through 3, to collaborate physically over a mat, maybe designing a place for a robot to go. I wonder when you think is a good age to begin collaborating in a digital space where the kids don't actually have to be physically next to each other, looking at each other.
I started mine in 2nd grade. And the reason I did 2nd grade is at that time, they're developmentally, I've found 1st graders have a hard time with controls because the Minecraft we play is on a PC, so it's a two-handed control. And some 1st graders get it like that. But I've found 2nd grade can really get in there, and it's a new experience for them. They have to learn when they're in there, so we have to go over digital citizenship rules, and we have to go over how do we treat people in a virtual space. And one of the big rules in my classroom at that time was, if you however you treat somebody in the real world, that's how you treat them in a virtual world. And so they start learning those good citizenship goals of learning how to chat and not flame. We go over what's griefing, what's flaming, what's trolling. And it ends up being a really good space for them to learn because they're eventually going to be in virtual spaces anyway. If we can start teaching them at 7 how to behave online, we're going to have some better behaved kids coming up. I hope that answered your
Yes,
question.
And I think one of the things that we've noticed about educators around the world bringing, whether it's Minecraft or just digital learning in the classroom, they intentionally create culture that supports that, and there's room for error and a chance to start over. And every time something goes wrong becomes an opportunity to have that conversation about culture. And that's what I find these educators are doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I know this is about STEM learning, but I was wondering if you had any stories about using Minecraft to help kids write or create stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I started off with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe retelling and sharing, and there's the portfolio available so that students can take pictures and a camera. They can take pictures and write their own. It's a book, so they create their own book in Minecraft. Yeah, so there's definitely
the same really in terms of in Wales 100 years ago it was Roald Dahl's 100th birthday. And I know Minecraft did a huge project on this as well, but getting the children to really think about the rich settings that are within those books, get them to think about those, developing those reading skills, create settings based on those, but then really diversify and think about, okay, so this is a setting that's already been created. What about a setting for my own story in that same style as the author? What I found with our writers, in terms of inspiring them to write, they see a purpose. And if it's matching it with something like Minecraft, which they absolutely love, particularly our learners, it's a really effective tool, and they don't see it as working. We've given them like a cold type writing task linked to settings, and then Minecraft, and the quality of their writing is just amazing.
And if you have any questions about education-specific features we've added to Minecraft, come see me afterwards, and happy to chat. We worked hard to keep the joy and the ethos of Minecraft intact. Yes, thank you for applauding that, Peggy. And then we added specific features to make it useful for students and educators. Yeah.
Thank you. Real quick question. Do any of you have your servers open 24/7?
Right now, I'm not running a server. I'm just,
The question was, are the servers open 24/7?
and
So-
in Minecraft Education Edition, we work locally, and particularly for the K through 5 crowd, this makes a setting that parents are very, very happy with because it's closed and it's only open to that student or people they personally invite who are within easy access. So the teacher can have up to 30 people on the server that's on her computer, but it tends to be a very closed space, and this is just the Education Edition. I personally am not running a Minecraft server right now, but there are servers out there, but that's the regular game, not educational game.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am from a public library. I'm a librarian. And one of the things that we have difficulty with are reluctant users. I was just wondering how you get those reluctant users, like when you get a kid in front of a computer and they make a mistake and they freeze or they say, I give up. How do you encourage that? Because we don't have that, I don't want to say captive audience. They can just simply leave if they wish to.
Well, part of playing video games is dying and do over. I mean, that's just it. I mean, that's how, yeah, I mean, that's how you learn. And, you know, whenever I experience frustration with mine, I would always just say, do it over. And so many times we're taught that if you fail once, it's over. That's it, you're done. But that's not how life is. Life is about picking yourself up and continuing on. And it's just encouragement. And tell them that, hey, I don't play it much better. I do things wrong too, so.
Yeah, I found with Minecraft that sometimes I'll need to tell my learners, no, that's enough, because they want to, if they've made a mistake, they want to correct it themselves. And I think in terms of their work, if I could mirror that into something else they were doing, that's brilliant. So, you know, getting them to think about, particularly now in terms of coding and STEM learning, when they're using Code Builder within Minecraft, if I was using a different platform to get them to code, if they'd made a mistake, to get them to debug that code would be quite difficult. But within Minecraft, because they can see it so visually within the game, I don't need to. So in terms of self-regulation, I think Minecraft lends itself perfectly to that.
I also want to add, like, if I go over to a student who's struggling, and if I say, oh, I'll help you, and then I start making mistakes, they're like, wait a minute, they will, like, push my hands away. I could do it better than you. And they see that. So, like, that is, like, that. The kids are, they're pretty, that's the magical part about Minecraft. If they know it better than, they're able to play it so much better than adults. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Ning and I come from China. I just want to ask, I'm wondering if there is any chances or previous experiences about Minecraft helping STEM learning in some developing countries like China or?
Yeah, so we are actually looking into that at this very moment. If you have a moment after this, I'd love to connect, and we have
that'd
some
be
work
great.
in progress.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hi, it's a great panel, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to ask you guys, since you seem to be already a unit, do you have a Google Doc or Google Place or something?
So the way I help oversee and nurture this global Minecraft mentor community, and we use Microsoft Teams, which is kind of like Slack, to communicate on a daily basis. So even though James is in Wales, asynchronously, we're always talking. And in this Teams, we're talking about lesson plans, we're talking about culture, we're talking about technical difficulties we might run into. We're connecting with other mentors to create projects. So we have 2 mentors, one Ben from Ohio and Simon from UK. They've actually done lessons together and are connecting their students with each other. And their lessons are on our site as well.
So we can become part of that?
I
know that would be just monstrous.
Yes. If you go to education.minecraft.net, the very first step you can take is join our listserv. And then if you're interested in more engagement and further involvement in the community, come see me afterwards. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. You touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious what is the parents' response been?
Yeah, that's one of the questions we wanted to get to, we didn't get to.
Arguments and people are like, is my kid playing games at school? I mean, I'm just curious if parents have been generally supportive
That's a very great question.
Resistant.
What do you all have to say how do you tell parents what you're doing and why you're doing it?
Well, at this point, after 7 years, most of my parents just are used to me. And they're, because I've always been pushing the boundaries of what kids can do in technology, and I just think there's no limit. And I have never received a whole lot of pushback, particularly on Minecraft. Now, if you had been talking about another game like Roblox or even Fortnite now or something, then you would be getting pushback. But this one has been one that the parents in my community have embraced, and they might ask me questions like about how long should their kid be playing or something like that, and I tell them that's your job. And but it's more they can see. I really believe the parents in my area have really been able to see the value of it, and the fact that it's not violent. And the fact that they can actually see the learning that's going on. I've not really received any pushback from mine.
I just want to say with mine, if you think about the game of Minecraft, it's blocks, and sometimes the kids have to manipulate the blocks, and the thinking that goes into the actual. I mean, I had students just build the Taj Mahal, and the thinking, and it was fantastic. And to actually build that in Minecraft, and the thinking of how am I going to manipulate these blocks and these other tools that I have to make it to make a replica of the Taj Mahal. I mean, the thinking, and parents see that when they question their child, and they're like, what did I do today? And they're talking about the Taj Mahal again, or like I did a thing with falling water, and I have students. I live in Pennsylvania, and I had parents come up to me. Oh, we're only 2 hours away. We're going to go see falling water now because you exposed this to them, and they built it in Minecraft, and they want to compare. So I think once parents see that it's not just a game where you're attacking each other, or it's a game where you're building, creating, you're thinking. Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming to our panel. We're all here, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you so much.